northern Michigan, and a guy named John Lamb tricked me into writing a song about NASCAR. And this is the song that came with it. It's a true story. There's a true story about a race that happened in the spring of 1960. There's a NASCAR driver back in those days, a guy named Lee Petty, and everybody thought that he was just going to be the best driver there ever could be, you know. And Lee Petty he'd won a bunch of races, and nobody could win more races than Lee Petty. And his son was finally starting to get into the sport in the late 50s. And they were starting to write articles about his son in the paper and whether or not his son was ever going to amount to anything in the sport. His son's name was Richard Petty. And things turned out, I can tell by your chuckles that there's more NASCAR fans in here than you're letting on to.
Closet NASCAR
fans. It's all right. But things did turn out pretty good for Richard. This is a song about the spring race in 1960. Richard had won one race up to this point. People were worried about him. And there was a young guy named Jimmy Massey who was trying to make sure that he didn't win his second race that day. So this is the story of Jimmy Massey. It's called Massey's Run. He's the one they always talk about, the thing that's always thrown around. He's the best that's ever held a steering wheel. With his straw hat, feather cowboy crown, he's the king of going round and round. If you're out in front, he's nipping at your heels. And for all the races that he's won, all the tires he must have spun, it's no wonder folks still go on about him. But 26 laps in the spring of 1960, he was behind me, right there in my mirror, that red, white, and blue STP. If it had been for the number 43, I could have been the king. When I held him off through every turn, my tire balls, my brakes burned. I took everything old 21 to kill. He was coming up the inside fast. I knew he was going to try to pass, so I got down low and I kept him there behind me. Till the final time around turn 4, he finally got me door to door. That paper clip turned into a drag race. But 6 laps in the spring 1960. He was behind me, right there in my mirror, that red, white, and blue STP. If it had been for the number 43, I could have been the king. I drove it like a demon on that final death wish drag, and I know I almost had him. Until we crossed that checkered flag. He was behind me, right there in my mirror, that red, white, and blue STP. If it hadn't been for the number 43, I could have been the king. When I crossed the line in second place today, Petty won his second race. Since then, he's won 198 more. But I like to think I did pretty well. Racing tight gave him hell, but he probably don't think about me anymore. Sometimes at night I still dream, still hear those pistons scream, and I can still see that Petty blue. I'm crossing the line in the spring of 1960.